Shalom, Hazel. I'm gonna give it a few minutes to let somebody else come in here before we get started. Nobody showed up on Wednesday, and I had some things come up the last few days, so kind of fell off on the daily readings, but I'm about to get back on it. And it's mainly for other people to read along. Like I already finished up the Tanakh front to back a few weeks ago. So I mean, people don't show. I'm not gonna wait too long, you know. I'll give it maybe 2 or 3 minutes and I'll start. It's only 10 chapters, so I should be able to get through it pretty quick. I read from the Stone Edition to Tanakh. So it has on the right side it's the Hebrew language, and on the left side is English. I used to be a KJV onlyist, and I got me 1611 KJV back in 2017, and I swore by that thing. But the more research and the more looking into the translations in the original language that I did, the more error I seen in it, and the more bias that I seen in it. Them adding words, taking words away, uh, switching words around to suit a doctrine, suit a bias. So I no longer go by the KJV. I'd rather get closer to the source as possible. So yeah, Stone Edition to not. But I mean, I don't matter whoever reads along. It don't really matter what version they decide to read from, as long as the picture gets painted. Yeah, the word of the Most High Yah is powerful, but you gotta also remember he actually what was it in it was Kings, I think it was First Kings 22:19 through 23, when he allowed a lying spirit to be sent through the mouth of the prophets. So the Most High will, like, depending on the person, he can cause deception on people, and he can also allow, like, there's evil in the world, so he allows evil to exist. So there are men out here that have created false translations and tried to take away and add to his word, and that's a commandment not to do. So yeah, his word will prevail, and eventually, everybody's gonna be on the same page. But I mean, there's a reason there's so many translations out here, and a lot of them don't say the same thing. So we gotta That's why it's important to learn the Hebrew language and go to the source, because that's one reason why if you go to college or high school, they'll teach you Spanish. They have Spanish classes. They have French classes. I've never seen one Hebrew class, and there's a reason for that, because they don't want us knowing what it really says. But I'm gonna get started. I'm gonna get started soon because I'm not gonna try to make this last too long. In the first room we read half of Genesis, and then in the second one we read the other half of Genesis. So we did pretty long rooms. I'm gonna try to keep it short on this one. And the more people that come in, maybe we'll read more, start reading more again. But yeah, I'm about to get started. As long as one person's listening, that's all that matters. All right. I'm gonna start Leviticus 1. He called to Moses, and Yahweh spoke to him from the tent of meeting, saying, Speak to the children of Yasharal and say to them, When a man among you brings an offering to Yahweh, from animals, from cattle of the flock, that shall you bring your offering. If one's offering is a burnt offering from the cattle, he shall offer an unblemished male. He shall bring it to the entrance of the tent of meeting voluntarily before Yahweh. He shall lean his hands upon the head of the burnt offering, and it shall become acceptable for him to atone for him. He shall slaughter the bull before Yahweh. The sons of Aaron, the Kohanim, shall bring the blood and throw the blood on the altar all around, which is at the entrance of the tent of meeting. He shall skin the burnt offering and cut it into its pieces. The sons of Aaron the Kohen shall place fire on the altar and arrange wood on the fire. The sons of Aaron the Kohanim shall arrange the pieces, the head and the fats, and the wood that is on the fire that is on the altar. He shall wash his innards and his feet with water, and the Kohen shall cause it all to go up in smoke on the altar, a burnt offering, a fire offering, a satisfying aroma to Yahweh. And if one's offering is from the flock, from the sheep or the goats, for a burnt offering, he shall offer an unblemished male. He shall slaughter it at the northern side of the altar before Yahweh, and the sons of Aaron, the Kohanim, shall throw its blood on the altar all around. He shall cut it into pieces, its head and its fats. The Kohen shall arrange them on the wood that is on the fire that is on the altar. He shall wash the innards of the feet in water. The Kohen shall bring it all and cause it to go up in smoke on the altar. It is a burnt offering, a fire offering, a satisfying aroma to Yahweh. If one's offering to Yahweh is a burnt offering of fowl, he shall bring his offering from the turtle doves or from young doves. The Kohen shall bring it to the altar, nip its head, and cause it to go up in smoke on the altar, having pressed out its blood on the altar's wall. He shall remove its crop with its feathers, and he shall throw it near the altar towards the east, to the place of the ashes. He shall split it with its feathers, he shall not sever it. The Kohen shall cause it to go up in smoke on the altar, on the wood that is on the fire. It is a burnt offering, a fire offering, a satisfying aroma to Yahweh. Chapter 2. When a person offers a meal offering to Yahweh, his offering shall be of fine flour. He shall pour oil upon it and place frankincense upon it. He shall bring it to the sons of Aaron the Kohanim, one of whom shall scoop his 3 fingers full from it, from its fine flour and from its oil, as well as all its frankincense. And the Kohen shall cause its memorial portion to go up in the smoke upon the altar, a fire offering, a satisfying aroma to Yahweh. The remnant of the meal offering is for Aaron and his sons, most holy from the fire offerings of Yahweh. When you offer a meal offering that is baked in an oven, it shall be of fine flour, unleavened loaves mixed with oil, or unleavened wafers smeared with oil. If your offering is a meal offering on a pan, it shall be of fine flour mixed with oil. It shall be unleavened. You shall break it into pieces and pour oil upon it. It is a meal offering. If your offering is a meal offering in a deep pan, it shall be made of fine flour with oil. You shall present it to Yahweh, the meal offering that will be prepared from these. He shall bring it to the Kohen, who shall bring it close to the altar. The Kohen shall lift up its memorial portion from the meal offering and cause it to go up in smoke on the altar, a fire offering, is satisfying aroma to Yahweh. The remnant of the meal offering is for Aaron and his sons, most holy from the fire offerings of Yahweh. Any meal offering that you offer to Yahweh shall not be prepared leavened, for you shall not cause to go up in smoke from any leavening or fruit honey as a fire unto Yahweh. You shall offer them as a first fruit offering to Yahweh, but they may not go up upon the altar for a satisfying aroma. You shall salt your every meal offering with salt. You may not discontinue the salt of your God's covenant from upon your meal offering. On your every offering shall you offer salt. When you bring a meal offering of the first grain to Yahweh from ripe ears, parched over fire, ground from plump kernels, shall you offer the meal offering of your first grain. You shall put oil on it and place frankincense on it, a meal offering. The Kohen shall cause its memorial portion to go up in smoke from its flour and its oil, as well as its frankincense, a fire offering to Yahweh. Did you want to read, Hazel? Hold up. Oh, I seen you raise your hand. I thought you wanted to read. All right, we're about to start chapter 3. If his offering is a feast peace offering, if he offers it from the cattle, whether male or female, unblemished shall he offer it before Yahweh. He shall lean his hands upon the head of the offering and slaughter it at the entrance of the tent of meeting. The sons of Aaron, the Kohanim, shall throw the blood upon the altar all around. From the feast peace offering he shall offer as a fire offering to Yahweh the fat that covers the innards, and all the fat that is upon the innards, and the two kidneys with the fat that is upon them, that is upon the flanks, and he shall remove the diaphragm with the liver, with the kidneys. The sons of Aaron shall cause it to go up in smoke on the altar, besides the burnt offering that is on the wood that is on the fire, a fire offering, a satisfying aroma to Yahweh. If his sin offering to Yahweh is a feast peace offering from the flock, male or female, unblemished shall he offer it. If he offers a sheep as his offering, he shall bring it before Yahweh. He shall lean his hands upon the head of his offering and slaughter it before the tent of meeting, and the sons of Aaron shall throw its blood upon the altar all around. From the feast peace offering he shall offer as a fire offering to Yahweh its choicest part, the entire tail. He shall remove it above the kidneys, and the fat that covers the innards, and all the fat that is upon the innards, and the two kidneys and the fat that is upon them, that is upon the flanks. And he shall remove the diaphragm with the liver, with the kidneys. The Kohen shall cause it to go up in smoke on the altar. It is the food of the fire for Yahweh. If his offering is a goat, he shall bring it before Yahweh. He shall lean his hands upon its head and slaughter it before the tent of meeting, and the sons of Aaron shall throw its blood upon the altar all around. He shall bring his offering from it as a fire offering to Yahweh. The fat that covers the innards and all the fat that is upon the innards, and the two kidneys and the fat that is upon them, that is upon the flanks, and he shall remove the diaphragm with the liver, with the kidneys. The Kohen shall cause them to go up in smoke on the altar, the fruit of the fire for a satisfying aroma, all the choicest parts for Yahweh. An eternal decree for your generations. In all your dwelling places, you may not consume any fat or blood. Chapter 4. Yahweh.
The Lord said to Moses, "Say to the Israelites, when anyone sins unintentionally and does what is forbidden in any of the Lord's commands, if the anointed priest sins, bringing guilt on the people, he must bring to the Lord a young bull without defect as a sin offering for the sin he has committed. He is to present the bull at the entrance of the tent of meeting before the Lord. He is to lay his hand on its head and slaughter it before the Lord. Then the anointed priest shall take some of the bull's blood, carry it into the tent of meeting. He is to dip his finger into the blood and sprinkle some of it 7 times before the Lord, in front of the curtain of the sanctuary. The priest shall then put some of the blood on the horns of the altar as a fragrant incense that is before the Lord in the tent of meeting. The rest of the bull's blood he shall pour out at the base of the altar of burnt offering at the entrance of the tent of meeting. He shall remove all the fat from the bull of the sin offering, all that all the fat that is connected to the internal organs, both kidneys with the fat on them near the loins, and the long lobe of the liver, which he will remove with the kidneys. Just as the fat is removed from the ox sacrifice as a fellowship offering, then the priest shall burn them on the altar of burnt offering. But the hide of the bull, and all its flesh, as well as the head of legs, and internal organs, and the intestines, that is, all the rest of the bull, he must take outside the camp to place ceremonially clean where the ashes are thrown, and burn it there in a wood fire on the ash heap. Verse 13. If the whole Israelite community sins unintentionally and does what is forbidden in any of the Lord's commands, even though the community is unaware of the matter, when they realize their guilt and the sin they committed becomes known, the assembly must bring a young bull as a sin offering and present it before the tent of meeting. The elders of the community are to lay their hands on the bull's head before the Lord, and the bull shall be slaughtered before the Lord. Then the anointed priest is to take some of the bull's blood into the tent of meeting. He shall dip his finger into the blood and sprinkle it before the Lord 7 times in front of the curtain. He is to put some blood on the horns of the altar that is before the Lord in the tent of meeting. The rest of the blood he shall pour out at the base of the altar of burnt offering at the entrance of the meeting. He shall remove all the fat from it, and on he shall remove all the fat from it and burn it on the altar, and do with this bull just as he did with the bull before the sin offering. In this way, the priest will make atonement for the community, and they will be forgiven. Then he shall take the bull outside the camp and burn it as he burnt the first bull. This is the sin offering for the community. When a leader sins unintentionally and does what is forbidden in any of the commands of the Lord his God, when he realizes his guilt and the sin he has committed becomes known, he must bring his offering, a male goat without defect. He is to lay his hand on the goat's head and slaughter it at the place where the burnt offering is slaughtered before the Lord. It is a sin offering. Then the priest shall take some of the blood of the sin offering with his fingers and put it on the horns of the altar of burnt offering, and pour the rest of the blood at the base of the altar. He shall burn the fat on the altar as he burned the fat of the fellowship offering. In this way, the priest will make atonement for the leader's sins, and he will be forgiven. If any member of the community sins unintentionally and does what is forbidden in any of the Lord's commands, when they realize their guilt and the sin they have committed becomes known, they must bring as their offering for the sin offering they committed a female goat without defect. They are to lay their hand on the head of the sin offering and slaughter it at the place of the burnt offering. Then the priest will take some of the blood with his fingers and put it on the horns of the altar of burnt offering and pour out the rest of the blood at the base of the altar. They shall remove all the fat just as the fat is removed from the fellowship offering, and the priest shall burn it on the altar as an aroma pleasing to the Lord. In this way, the priest will make atonement for them, and they will be forgiven. If someone brings a lamb as their sin offering, they are to bring a female without defect. They are to lay their hand on its head and slaughter it for a sin offering at the place where the burnt offering is slaughtered. Then the priest shall take some of the blood of the sin offering with his finger and put it on the horns of the altar of burnt offering, and put out the rest of the blood at the base of the altar. They shall remove all the fat, just as it, they shall remove all the fat, just as the fat is removed from the lamb of the fellowship offering. And the priest shall burn it on the altar on top of the food offering presented to the Lord. In this way, the priest will make atonement for them, for the sin they have committed, and they will be forgiven. Amen.
All right, chapter 5. Appreciate you reading too. If a person will sin, if he accepted a demand for an oath, and he is a witness, either he saw or he knew, if he does not testify, he shall bear his iniquity. Or if a person will have touched any contaminated object, whether the contaminating carcass of a beast, the contaminating carcass of an animal, or the contaminating carcass of a creeping animal, but it was concealed from him, and he is contaminated and became guilty. Or if he will touch a human contamination in any manner of its contamination, through which he can become contaminated, but it was concealed from him, and then he knew, and he became guilty. Or if a person will swear, expressing with his lips to do harm or to do good, anything that a person will express in an oath, but it was concealed from him, and then he knew, and then he became guilty regarding one of these matters. When one shall become guilty regarding one of these matters, he shall confess what he has sinned. He shall bring as his guilt offering to Yahweh for his sin that he had committed, a female from the flock, a sheep or a goat for a sin offering, and the Kohen shall provide him atonement for his sins. But if his means are insufficient for a sheep or goat, then he shall bring as his guilt offering for that which he sinned 2 turtle doves or 2 young doves to Yahweh, one for a sin offering and one for a burnt offering. He shall bring them to the Kohen, who shall offer first the one that is for the sin offering. He shall nip his head at its nape, but not separated. He shall sprinkle from the blood of the sin offering upon the wall of the altar, and the remaining of the blood he shall press out toward the base of the altar. It is a sin offering. And he shall make the second one a burnt offering according to its law. And the Kohen shall provide him atonement for his sin that he committed, and it shall be forgiven him. But if his means are insufficient for 2 turtle doves or for 2 young doves, then he shall bring as his guilt offering for that which he has sinned a tenth ephah of fine flour for his sin offering. He shall not place oil on it, nor shall he put frankincense on it, for it is a sin offering. He shall bring it to the Kohen, and the Kohen shall scoop it from his 3 fingers full as his memorial portion, and cause it to go up in smoke on the altar, on the fires of Yahweh. It is a sin offering. The Kohen shall provide him atonement for the sin that he committed regarding any of these, and it will be forgiven him, and it shall belong to the Kohen, like the meal offering. Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, if a person commits treachery and sins unintentionally against Yahweh's holies, he shall bring his guilt offering to Yahweh, an unblemished ram from the flock, with a value of silver shekels, according to the sacred shekel for a guilt offering. For what he has departed the sanctuary, For what he has deprived the sanctuary, he shall make restitution, and add a fifth to it, and give it to the Kohen. Then the Kohen shall provide him atonement with the ram of the guilt offering, and it shall be forgiven him. If a person will sin and will commit one of all the commandments of Yahweh that may not be done, but did not know, and became guilty, he shall bear his iniquity. He shall bring an unblemished ram from the flock of the proper value as a guilt offering to the Kohen. And the Kohen shall provide him atonement for the inadvertence that he had committed unintentionally, and he did not know, and it shall be forgiven him. It is a guilt offering. He has become guilty before Yahweh. Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, if a person will sin and commit a treachery against Yahweh by lying to his fellow regarding a pledge or a loan or a robbery, or by defrauding his fellow, or he found a lost item and denied it, and he swore falsely about any of the things that a person can do and sin thereby, so it shall be that when he will sin and become guilty, he shall return the robbed item that he robbed, or the proceeds of his fraud, or the pledge that was with him, or the lost item that he found, or anything about which he has sworn falsely. He shall uh, he shall repay his principal and add his fifth to it. He shall give it to its owner on the day he admits his guilt, and he shall bring his guilt offering to Yahweh, an unblemished ram from the flock, of the proper value, as a guilt offering to the Kohen. The Kohen shall provide him atonement before Yahweh, and it shall be forgiven him for any of all the things he might do to incur guilt. Chapter 6. Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, Command Aaron and his sons, saying, This is the law of the burnt offering. It is the burnt offering that stays on the flame, on the altar, all night until the morning, and the fire of the altar shall be kept aflame on it. The Kohen shall don his fitted linen tunic, and he shall don linen breeches on his flesh. He shall separate the ash of what the fire consumed of the burnt offering on the altar, and place it next to the altar. He shall remove his garments and don other garments, and he shall remove the ash to the outside of the camp to a pure place. The fire on the altar shall be kept burning on it, and it shall not be extinguished. And the Kohen shall kindle wood upon it every morning. He shall prepare the burnt offering upon it, and shall cause the fats of the peace offerings to go up in smoke upon it. A permanent fire shall remain aflame on the altar, it shall not be extinguished. This is the law of the meal offering. The sons of Aaron shall bring it before Yahweh, to the front of the altar. He shall separate it with his 3-fingerful, some of the fine flour of the meal offering, and some of its oil, and all the frankincense that is on the meal offering. And he shall cause them to go up in smoke on the altar for a satisfying aroma, its memorial portion unto Yahweh. Aaron and his sons shall eat what is left of it. It shall be eaten unleavened in a holy place. In the courtyard of the tent of meeting shall they eat it. It shall not be baked leavened. I have presented it as their share from my fire offerings. It is most holy, like the sin offering and like the guilt offering. Every male of the children of Aaron shall eat it, an eternal portion for your generations, from the fire offerings of Yahweh. Whatever touches them shall become holy. Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, This is the offering of Aaron and his sons, with each shall offer to Yahweh on the day he is inaugurated. A tenth ephah of fine flour as a continual meal offering, half of it in the morning and half of it in the afternoon. It should be made on a pan with oil. Scalded shall you bring it. A repeatedly baked meal offering, broken into pieces. You shall offer it as a satisfying aroma to Yahweh. The Kohen from among his sons, who was anointed in his place, shall perform it. It is an eternal decree for Yahweh. It shall be caused to go up in smoke in its entirety. Every meal offering of a Kohen is to be entirely caused to go up in smoke. It shall not be eaten. Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to Aaron and his sons, saying, This is the law of the sin offering. In the place where the burnt offering is slaughtered shall the sin offering be slaughtered. Before Yahweh it is most holy. The Kohen who uh, the Kohen who performs its sin offering service shall eat it. It shall be eaten in the holy place in the courtyard of the tent of meeting. Whatever touches its flesh becomes holy. And if its blood is sprinkled upon a garment, whatever it has been sprinkled upon, you shall wash in a holy place. An earthenware vessel in which it was cooked shall be broken. But if it was cooked in a copper vessel, that shall be purged and rinsed in water. Every male among the Kohanim may eat it, for it is holy. It is most holy. Any sin offering from which blood has been brought to the tent of meeting, to effect atonement within the holy, shall not be eaten. It shall be burned in fire. Chapter 7. This is the teaching of the guilt offering. It is most holy. In the place where they shall slaughter the burnt offering shall they slaughter the guilt offering, and he shall throw his blood upon the altar all around. All of its fat shall he offer of it, the tail and the fat that covers the innards, and the 2 kidneys and the fat that covers them, which is on the flanks. And he shall remove the diaphragm as well as the liver, as well as the kidneys. The Kohen shall cause them to go up in smoke on the altar, a fire offering to Yahweh. It is a guilt offering. Every male among the Kohanim may eat it. It shall be eaten in a holy place. It is most holy. Like the sin offering is the guilt offering. There is one law for them. It belong to a Kohen who performs its atonement service, and the Kohen who offers a person's burnt offering. The hide of the burnt offering that he offered shall belong to that Kohen. It shall be his. Any meal offering that is baked in the oven, and any that is made in a deep pan or upon a shallow pan, it shall belong to the Kohen who offers it. It shall be his. And any meal offering that is mixed with oil or that is dry, it shall belong to all the sons of Aaron, every man alike. This is the law of the feast peace offering that one will offer to Yahweh. If he shall offer it for a thanksgiving offering, he shall offer with the feast thanksgiving offering unleavened loaves mixed with oil, unleavened wafers smeared with oil, and loaves of scalded fine flour mixed with oil. With loaves of leavened bread shall he bring his offering, with his feast thanksgiving peace offering. From it he shall offer from each one as an offering, a portion to Yahweh. From it shall he offer one from each as an offering. Did I just read that? I don't think I did. It shall belong to the Kohen who throws the blood of the peace offering. And the flesh of his feast thanksgiving peace offering must be eaten on the day of its offering. He shall not leave any of it until morning. If his feast offering is for a vow or a donation, it must be eaten on the day he offered his feast offering. And on the next day, what is left over may be eaten. What is left over from the flesh of the feast offering shall be burned in fire on the third day. And if some of the flesh of his feast thanksgiving peace offering was intended to be eaten on the third day, it is not acceptable. The one who offers it may not intend this. It remains neglected, rejected, and the soul that eats it shall bear its iniquity. The flesh that touches any contaminated thing may not be eaten. It shall be burned in fire. But of the uncontaminated flesh, any uncontaminated person may eat the flesh. A person who eats flesh from the feast peace offering that is Yahweh's while his contamination is upon him, that soul will be cut off from his people. If a person touches any contamination, whether human contamination or a contaminated animal carcass or any contaminated detestable carcass, and he eats from the flesh of a feast peace offering that is Yahweh's, then that soul will be cut off from his people. Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Yasharal, saying, Any fat of oxen, sheep, or goats you shall not eat. The fat of an animal that died and the fat of an animal that had been torn to death may not be put to any use. Oh wait, I messed it up. May be put to any use, but you shall not eat. For anyone who eats the fat of animal species from which one may bring a fire offering to Yahweh, the soul that eats will be cut off from his people. You shall not consume any blood in any of your dwelling places, whether from fowl or from animals. Any person who consumes any blood, that soul will be cut off from his people. Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Yasharal, saying, When one brings his feast peace offering to Yahweh, he shall deliver his offering to Yahweh from his feast peace offering. With his own hands shall he bring the fire offerings of Yahweh. The fat atop the breast shall he bring, the breast, in order to wave it as a wave service before Yahweh. The Kohen shall cause the fat to go up and smoke on the altar, and the breast shall be for Aaron and his sons. You shall give the right thigh as a raised up gift to the Kohen from your feast peace offerings. Anyone from among the sons of Aaron who shall offer the blood of the feast peace offering and the fat, the right thigh shall be his as a portion. For the breast of the waving and the thigh of the raising up have I taken from the children of Yasharal from their feast peace offering, and I have given them to Aaron the Kohen and his sons as an eternal stipend from the children of Yasharal. This is the anointment portion of Aaron and the anointment portion of his sons from the fire offerings of Yahweh. On the day he brought them near to minister Yahweh, that Yahweh commanded to be given them on the day he anointed them from among the children of Yasharal. It is an eternal decree for their generations. This is the law of the burnt offering, the meal offering, the sin offering, and the guilt offering, and the inauguration offerings, and the feast peace offering, which Yahweh commanded Moses on Mount Sinai on the day he commanded the children of Yasharal to bring their offerings to Yahweh in the wilderness of Sinai. Chapter 8. You want to read
The
that one?
Lord, yes. The Lord said to Moses, Bring Aaron and his sons their garments, the anointing oil, the bull of the sin offering, the 2 rams, and the basket containing bread made without yeast, and gather the entire assembly at the entrance of the tent of meeting. Moses did as the Lord commanded him, and the assembly gathered at the entrance of the tent of meeting. Moses said to the assembly, This is what the Lord has commanded to be done. Then Moses brought Aaron and his sons forward, and washed them with water. He put the tunic on Aaron, tied the sash around him, clothed him with the robe, and put the ephod on him. He also fastened the ephod with a decorative waistband, which he tied around him. He placed the breastpiece on him and put the Ephraim and the Thummim in the breastpiece. Then he placed the turban on Aaron's head and set the gold plate, the sacred emblem, on the front of it, and the Lord commanded Moses. Then Moses took the anointing oil and anointed the tabernacle and everything in it. He also consecrated them. He sprinkled some of the oil on the altar 7 times, anointing the altar and all its utensils and the basin with its stand, and to consecrate them. He poured some of the anointing oil on Aaron's head and anointed him to consecrate him. Then he brought Aaron's sons forward, put tunics on them, tied sashes around them, and fastened caps on them, as the Lord commanded Moses. He then presented the bull of the sin offering, and Aaron and his sons laid their heads on its head. Moses slaughtered the bull and took some of the blood, and with his fingers he put it on the horns of the altar to purify the altar. He poured out the rest of the blood at the base of the altar. So he consecrated it to make atonement for it. Moses also took all the fat around the internal organs, the long lobe of the liver, and both the kidneys and their fat, and burned it on the altar. But the bull, with its hide and its flesh and its intestines, he burned up outside the camp, as the Lord commanded Moses. He then presented the ram for the burnt offering, and Aaron and his sons laid their hands on its head. Then Moses slaughtered the ram and splashed the blood against the sides of the altar. He cut the ram into pieces and burnt the head, the pieces, and the fat. He washed the internal organs and the legs with the water and burned the whole ram on the altar. It was burnt offering, a pleasing aroma of food offering presented to the Lord, as the Lord commanded Moses. He then presented the the ram for the ordination, and Aaron and his sons laid their hands on its head. Moses slaughtered the ram and took some of its blood and put it on the lobe of Aaron's right ear, and on the thumb of his right hand, and on the big toe of his right foot. Moses also brought Aaron's son forward, and put some of the blood on the lobes of their right ears, on the thumbs of their right hands, and on the big toes of their right feet. He then splashed blood against the sides of the altar. After that he took the fat tail, and the fat around the internal organs, the long lobe and of the liver, both kidneys and their fat, and the right thigh, and from the basket from of bread he made without yeast, which was before the Lord. He took one thick loaf with olive oil mixed in, and one thin loaf, and he put these on the fat portions on the right thigh. He put all these on in the hands of Aaron and his sons, and they waved them before the Lord as a wave offering. Then Moses took them from their hands and burnt them on the altar on top of the burnt offering as an ordination offering, a pleasing aroma, a food presented to the Lord. Moses also took the breast which was his to share, the ordination ram, and waved it before the Lord as a wave offering, as the Lord commanded Moses. Then Moses took some of the anointing oil and some of the blood from the altar, and sprinkled them on Aaron and his garments, and on his sons and their garments. So he consecrated Aaron and his garments, and his sons and their garments. Moses then said to Aaron and his son, "Cook the meat at the entrance of the tent of meeting, and eat it there with the bread from the basket ordination offerings, as I was commanded." Aaron and his sons were to eat it. Then burn up the rest of the meat and the bread. Do not leave the entrance to the tent of meeting for 7 days, until the days of your ordination are completed. For your ordination will last 7 days. What has been done today was commanded by the Lord to make atonement for you. You must stay at the entrance to the tent of meeting day and night for 7 days, and do what the Lord requires, so you will not die. For that is what I have commanded. So Aaron and his sons did everything the Lord commanded through Moses. Chapter 9. The priests begin their ministry. On the 8th day Moses summoned Aaron and his sons and the elders of Israel. He said to Aaron, "Take a bull calf for your sin offering, and a ram for your burnt offering, both without defect, and present them before the Lord. Then he say to the Israelites, take a male goat for a sin offering, and a calf and a lamb, both a year old without defect, for burnt offering, and an ox and a ram for a fellowship offering, to sacrifice before the Lord. Together with the grain offering mixed with the olive oil. For today the Lord will appear to you." They took the things Moses commanded to the front of the tent of meeting, and the entire assembly came near and stood before the Lord. Then Moses said, "This is what the Lord has commanded you to do, so that the glory of the Lord may appear to you." Moses said to Aaron, "Come to the altar and sacrifice your sin offering and your burnt offering, and make atonement for yourself and the people. Sacrifice the offering that is for the people, and make atonement for them, as the Lord commanded." So Aaron came to the altar and slaughtered the calf as a sin offering for himself. His sons brought the blood of him, and he dipped his finger into the blood, and put the horns on the altar. The rest of the blood he poured out at the base of the altar. On the altar he burnt the fat, the kidneys, and the long lobe of the liver from the sin offering, as the Lord commanded Moses. The flesh he hid, the flesh and the hide he burnt up outside the camp. He then slaughtered the burnt offering. His sons handed him the blood, and he splashed it against the sides of the altar. They handed him the burnt offering piece by piece, including the head, and he burned them on the altar. He washed the internal organs and the legs, and burnt them on top of the burnt offering on the altar. Aaron then brought the offering that was for the people. He took the goat of the people's sins offering and slaughtered it, and offered it for a sin offering as he did with the first one. He brought the burnt offering and offered it to the in the prescribed way. He also brought the grain offering, took a handful of it, and burned it on the altar in addition to the morning's burnt offering. He slaughtered the ox and the ram as the fellowship offering for the people. His sons handed him the blood, and he splashed it against the sides of the altar. But the fat portions of the ox and the ram, the fat tail, the layer of fat, the kidneys, and the long lobe of the liver, these he laid on the breasts, and then Aaron burnt the fat on the altar. Aaron waved the breast and the right thigh before the Lord as a wave offering, as Moses commanded. Then Aaron lifted his hands toward the people and blessed them. And having sacrificed the sin offering, the burnt offering, and the fellowship offering, he stepped down. Moses and Aaron then went into the tent of meeting. When they came out, they blessed the people, and the glory of the Lord appeared to all the people. Fire came out from the presence of the Lord and consumed the burnt offering and the fat portions on the altar. And when all the people saw it, they shouted for joy and fell face down. 10. Aaron's sons Nadab and Abihu took their censers, put fire in them, and added incense, and they offered unauthorized fire before the Lord, contrary to his command. So fire came out of the presence of the Lord and consumed them, and they died before the Lord. Moses said to Aaron, "This is what the Lord spoke when he said, 'Among those who approach me will be approved holy in the sight of all the people. I will be honored.'" Aaron remained silent. Moses summoned Mishael and Elzaphan, sons of Aaron's uncle Uzziel, and said to them, "Come here, carry my cousins outside the camp away from the front of the sanctuary." So they came and carried them, still in the tunics outside the camp, as Moses ordered. Then Moses said to Aaron and his sons Eleazar and Ithamar, "Do not let your hair become unkempt, and do not tear your clothes, or you will die, and the Lord will be angry with the whole community. But relatives, all the Israelites may mourn for those the Lord has destroyed by fire. Do not leave the entrance to the tent of meeting, or you will die, because the Lord's anointing oil is on you." So they did as Moses said. Then the Lord said to Aaron, "You and your sons are to drink wine or other fermented drink whenever you go into the tent of meeting, or you will die. This is a lasting ordinance for the generations to come, so that you can distinguish between the holy and the common, between the unclean and the clean, and so you can teach the Israelites all the decrees the Lord has given them through Moses." Moses said to Aaron and his remaining sons, Eleazar and Ithamar, "Take the grain offering left over from the food offering, prepared without yeast, and presented to the Lord, and be and eat it beside the altar, for it is most holy. Eat it in the sanctuary area, because it is your share and your son's share of the blood offering presented to the Lord, for so I have been commanded. But you and your sons and your daughters may eat the breast that was waved on and the thigh that was presented. Eat them in a ceremonial clean place. They have been given to you and your children as your share of the Israelites' fellowship offerings. The thigh that was presented and the breast that was waved must be brought with the fat portions of the food offerings to be waved before the Lord as a wave offering. This will be the perpetual share for you and your children, as the Lord commanded. When Moses inquired about the goat of the sin offering and found that it had been burned up, he was angry with Eleazar and Ithamar, Aaron's remaining sons, and asked, "Why didn't you eat the sin offering in the sanctuary area? It is most holy. It was given to you to take away the guilt of the community and make atonement for them before the Lord." Since its blood was not taken into the holy place, you should have eaten the goat in the sanctuary area, as I commanded. Aaron replied to Moses, Today they sacrifice their sin offering and their burnt offering before the Lord. But such things have been but such things as this have happened to me. Would the Lord have been pleased if I had eaten the sin offering today? When Moses heard this, he was satisfied.
All right. Appreciate your reading. We're going to end at 10 tonight, and we're going to pick it up again tomorrow. Probably going to do 11. We might finish up. It's 27 chapters. Might go through the rest of it, depending on how many people come in. If not, maybe just do another 10 chapters and then finish it up on the third one. But yeah, I appreciate you coming and reading. Not a lot of people come to read. You know, a lot of people like to be in the debate rooms all day and not really into prayer and not really into actually studying. So appreciate you coming, at least listening, but definitely for reading too. And
No problem.
yeah, yeah, appreciate it. And yeah, come again tomorrow or whenever you can, and you can listen or read if you want to. It really don't matter as long as you're there, because we all need to be studying as a unit. We all need to go through this whole thing, and not just go through certain verses or certain chapters and not be in context. We gotta know the whole thing front to back. Like if you watch a movie, you don't start in the middle, you don't start in the back. You start from front to end, so you get the whole picture. So yeah, probably gonna do it again tomorrow, maybe around 7 start. But
All
I'll put it on the room. I'll schedule it so everybody knows. So yeah, show up if you can.
all right. Thank you so much. Have a nice night.
All right, bless. We're gonna continue tomorrow. Shalom. All praise to the Most High.